Hi, class. Happy week 6. We do have Thanksgiving this week, so I wish you the best of times with your friends and family. Because of Thanksgiving, we have a slightly different due date. Normally, we have work due on Thursdays and Sundays, but this week we have our critical evaluation essay planner due on Tuesday rather than Thursday, because Thursday, of course, is Thanksgiving. Your other assignment is due on Sunday the 30th. So you do have some work to do this week, but I hope that you still have plenty of time to enjoy the holiday with the people that you love. So let's talk first about this planner. Essentially, you have one big assignment left, and we have 2 stepping stones to get us there. So the stepping stones are due this week, and then the final essay, the critical evaluation essay, will be due at the end of week 7, our final week in English 101. The planner, I hope, makes it clear that you will be using ideas from your analysis essay planner and the essay itself. So your analysis essay is a humongous part of the critical evaluation. In such, you have done a lot of the work already. The critical evaluation essay is taking the ideas you elaborated on in the analysis essay and adding an evaluation or a judgment or an assessment. So what that means is when you analyzed, is America just going to abandon its towns falling into the ocean? You simply identified language use, credibility, and evidence. You did not judge the language, credibility, or evidence at that point. But you are using what you wrote in your analysis essay and adding to it to create this new paper, the critical evaluation essay. I hope that it makes more sense once you review the materials for this week and look at the sample paper. The critical evaluation essay planner, I think, might make it pretty clear as well that so much of what you are doing, you are adding to what you've already done. And I hope it's not confusing. I hope it actually makes your life easier over these last 2 weeks that we have English 101 work due. This makes it clear that we are still writing about language, credibility, and evidence. But instead of just identifying the word choices and tone, we are evaluating word choices and tone. We are including concepts, logos, pathos, and ethos. That is part of evaluation. We need to see how the writing choices made by the author affect the readers. Think of the writing as a dialogue or communication between the author and the readers. And we need to see if the author was effective in getting his, Stephen Lazak's, argument across to readers. Is he more likely to get them to agree with his argument based on his writing choices and tone? So you will be copying and pasting from your paper, from your analysis paper and your analysis planner. So this column you can copy and paste from your earlier assignments. The right-hand column will have new information when you evaluate and explain how the language use affects readers. Does it make them more or less likely to agree with the argument? And how do these writing choices appeal to the rhetorical appeals, logos, pathos, and or ethos? And then you will write a C-set paragraph to explain your evaluation of language. This paragraph will become a big part of your critical evaluation due at the end of week 7. Same process for credibility. For credibility, on the left-hand side, you are copying and pasting from your earlier analysis planner and analysis essay. And then the right-hand column will be new information, your evaluation, your judgment, and your assessment. Finally, for evidence, you will list the evidence that you identified when you did your planner and your analysis essay. And then on the right-hand side, you are adding something new. So left-hand side, you can copy and paste. Right-hand side, you are writing fresh, new information that evaluates, explains, judges, assesses the author's job. Finally, you are going to get into reading number 3. Reading number 3 is the secondary article that you found on your own through the SIRS database. So you will answer what is the other author's claim and major pieces of evidence, and then evaluate how the instructor-provided reading, the Stephen Lazak reading, is affected by the claim and the evidence provided in your secondary SIRS article. That assignment should be done by Tuesday. The other assignment that is due this week is the progress check. So the progress check is when you take your planner and start building paragraphs. We have made it clear here in the green text, Fall 2025 students, you will complete option number 2. Option number 2 is a rough draft. You are going to provide a rough draft of your credibility and evidence paragraphs. You will be using the template provided and the sample provided to help walk you through this assignment. As usual, we have samples to show you how a sample student tackled this assignment. So here is a sample credibility evaluation paragraph, and there is a sample of evidence evaluation paragraph. And then lastly, using your secondary SIRS article, you will use what you wrote on the planner about claim and evidence and how this secondary article affects the reader's acceptance of the assigned article. As you are working on this assignment, I forgot to show you, but we of course have a sample critical evaluation essay planner, and you will see how the left side is copied and pasted, the right side is new, and then you are starting CSET writing a CSET paragraph to evaluate language on this planner. That's why for the progress check, we want you to focus on credibility and evidence. As you are working on these materials, you will want to go through the Week 6 learning materials. Week 6, probably the most important page is going to be this page on your essay overview. You will see how the critical evaluation essay is built largely in part from your earlier analysis essay. In fact, this page makes it incredibly clear how the summary and response, you can use a portion of the summary and response, perhaps the hook, or some background information. You can use that again, but in the new paper. Your analysis writing should definitely be utilized. You will even be copying and pasting big portions of it into the new paper. And then the database exploration assignment, you should refer to that as you integrate the SIRS reading into your next paper, the final paper, the critical evaluation. It's always good to get a preview of what it is that the final paper is going to look like, since you will be finishing up the final paper during the last week, week 7. But It's a big paper, so you don't want to wait until the last week to work on it. Doing a good job on planning this week will help immensely next week. You will be learning this week about evaluation, bias, because now we're evaluating the author. So we need to learn what evaluation is, what the active evaluation is. It's a skill. And then how bias, audience, evidence, when we evaluate evidence, we need to write about accuracy, sufficiency, and relevance. So you will be using some terms here and even some sentence starters. We have phrases like, while the evidence is compelling, it may not be sufficient because, and so on. You can use these sentence starters as you write about how evidence is good or not. We can't just say evidence is good. That's too simplistic. We need to explain if it is useful in terms of sufficiency, relevance, and accuracy. That determines, these qualities determine whether evidence is solid or not. I mentioned earlier the rhetorical appeals, so obviously you will need to learn about them, and you will see some examples of rhetorical appeals in action. And then when you are writing your thesis statement next week, you will find this page to be incredibly helpful to walk you through how an effective thesis statement for the final paper, how it should look like, what it should look like. I hope this helps, but as always, get in touch if you have questions.